and welcome to the Pink Ink Classroom. Come on in and let's get started. Today we're going to be learning how to shade containers. Now, flowers are a very popular rubber stamp image and they come in all kinds of containers. There's also like this, a container that's a mixing bowl, or this one's a bucket. But they have a certain consistency to them on how they're shaded. And what we're going to do today is learn a technique about how to make things look rounded, be it this or this. So we're going to start off with this one because it is just a single color and it is simpler than this one, has stripes, but the techniques are essentially the same. So these are the two we're going to work on today. But I did want to make a quick show and tell of two pictures from my coloring books. Here are two examples of containers that are from the coloring books I've done. One is very busy and complicated with a floral pattern on it, and this is a tub of pansies that's actually quite simple, has a little decorative band. But my point is the technique for making it look rounded is the same. You're going from darker to lighter to darker as it reads across, and on this one you're going dark to light to dark. Now I've used a little bit of a halo effect on each side of this pot, assuming that there's a light source behind it. So it would glow a little here, but it's dark, light, dark, dark, light, dark, in spite of the decorations. Now we're going to begin. So this is an old-fashioned mixer. And you can see I've done it in a couple of colorways here. It's very trendy now to do these mixers. They sell these mixers in all kinds of colors. So we're going to do one today that's what I call kitchen green. It's kind of an interesting 1940s green. But before I start anything, I always put in the base layer. So I'm going to use a pale sage green and color this in. Now, if you were doing this yourself, I have a suggestion, and that is you color in this black last because it can smear on the lighter colors. But today I wanted to have the rest of the artwork colored in advance because we're just working on the bowl. So I'm filling all of this in. I just picked up a little smush of black there that I'm going to try and correct. And then the lip all the way around, and the inside of the bowl. I'm just using the color very consistently today because this is a base layer. You want to make sure you fill in all the little areas between the beaters there. Okay, now I'm going to start coloring in the inside of the bowl, and I'm going to press really hard at that little dip there and make it nice and dark, and then I'm letting up the pressure of my hand as I move across the surface. I'm leaving the lip lighter. I'm filling in the little gappy areas as I go. And now as I reach the other side of the inside oval, I'm starting to press harder, filling that in like that. Now on this one, I'm going to teach you a little trick here. If there's a light source, the light in here is coming from this way, and on a bowl here, which is kind of a glossy surface, there would actually be a little tiny halo of light right here. So as I go across here, I'm going dark, and I'm letting up the pressure of my hand as I go across. And then when I get about 2/3 of the way, I start pushing down again. But what I'm going to do here is stop and let there be a little white or lighter sort of highlight there. I call it a halo because it's kind of a glow of light that hits an edge like that. Now I'm going back and going perpendicular here to kind of fill in the gaps a little bit, and I'm also going to do a little hit of color underneath that lip to make it look like it's projecting over the edge of the bowl, and maybe a little bit of color right there on the little handle dealy. Now you can go back with an even darker shade of green and maybe re-emphasize the inside corners and these two edges here. And my last little trick that I love to use is to go back with my kneaded rubber eraser and pick up a little color right in the center, kind of make a bar of lighter color there. It's a bit of a cheat, but it's a way to get the look that you're after. You can also go back and use the blender to kind of smooth it out a little bit, but I think that looks pretty good. So there's our mixing bowl. And now we're going to work on this beach bucket bouquet stamp. This is the first stamp I ever drew, still a favorite. And I'm going to put in layers of base color first, and there's a good reason to do that on a stamp like this, because you want to tell yourself where these stripes are going to fall. And it helps to kind of plan it out ahead of time, because you don't want to end up, you want to vary the stripes. You don't want to get two that are right next to each other, because that's kind of boring. So the next color I'm going to put in is a soft green, and I want to repeat this once on the bucket. So I might as well go ahead and put it on now, since I have already kind of plotted out where these are going to go. And again, this is just a filling layer. I'm not really putting in any shading at this point. Next, I'm going to do this yellow green. And you can have two greens on the bucket, because you can see all the variety of greens that are used in the foliage up top. Another bit of advice that I always tell my students is it's a good idea to color in all the natural foliage first, because those colors are going to help to dictate what color the bucket is. If you color the bucket in first, you might be kind of stuck with some odd choices for your flowers, and they could clash. So in order to make it look nicely coordinated, I always do the plant life first and then the decorative bucket second. So we're going with 5, is that right? 5 colors here, yep, that all are reflected in the plants up here. You'll see it a lot more obviously after the darker colors go in. So 2 stripes of everything, and then 1 is the center zigzag stripe and the handle. That's sort of how I lay it out. Okay, so now we're going to start putting in the dark colors, and again, I treat the lip a little bit differently because it's bulged, it's rounded, so I'm going to add a little shading underneath it here to kind of give it a shadow. And then I'm going to start going across dark, light, and then darker. I'm filling in between those little gaps there, and maybe just a little bit underneath where that plant is hanging over. But dark, light, dark is the formula. Okay, easier to see on the next one. This is a Peacock Green I'm using. Same green I used up here. Maybe a little bit darker underneath that handle, and then you're going to start lightening it up. Should go across, then pushing down. It's always about like 3/4 of the way across. You start pushing harder. And I'll go ahead and do this one too. That saves you a little time if you do the same color stripes at once, then you don't have to put down the pencil and pick it up again. When you color a lot like I do, you kind of learn these little tricks to make it go more quickly. Now this is a nice violet here. Same color that's in the little tongues of the bird of paradise. And again, lightening up as I go across, trying to keep the light darks consistent within the stripes. And we're going to do another one here. And I'm kind of doing a little a little oval sort of motion here. It's a circle, an elongated circle that's a good way to fill in something of this size. Okay, now the next one is an olive green. And I have seen this stamp colored a whole lot of different ways. Somebody had done it as a patriotic version, sort of red, white, and blue. I've seen it done all in tans. I've seen it done all in blues. And you really can be very creative with it. I'm tending to do the flowers in a more traditional way, but there's a lot of different varieties of flowers and plants, and you can kind of do your own thing. I just suggested that whatever you do with the plants, you try and reflect those colors in the container. And again, pushing hard, pushing hard. Sometimes you have to go back and kind of even them out a little bit. Now this lovely processed red here. And you can see I'm deepening it up just a little bit where the stripe goes under that handle, just a touch. But basically, you're getting right back on to the lighter area then and pushing down again for the dark. And we'll finish it off with orange so it ties it all together. Pushing, 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 darker, 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 darker. And I'm going to go back perpendicularly and just kind of fill that in just a little bit. And now the handle, easy just to go around in a circle like this, round and round. Now in this, it's also curved, but it's kind of, because it's a flat surface, it bends at one point. So you want to go dark to light as it bows outward, but as it starts to curve, maybe a little bit darker here, and then quite a bit darker as it turns that corner, and then it's going to get light again and then dark again as it goes behind the bucket. So this is sort of the same step, but you're going to do it twice. Dark to light to dark, light, dark, as it turns the corner like that. And then a little bit of green on the little bolt that holds the handle like so. Now I'm going to go back again with my eraser and I'm going to lighten it up a little bit right in the center. That gives the bucket a little bit of a sheen and shine. So dark, light, dark, those are the key words for shading any sort of rounded container. And there you go, the finished product.